Let's compare the Flagship S22 5G with the OnePlus Nord Budget N200 5G. So both of these are 5G phones, but one is a $800 flagship with the best of the best, while the N200 5G is I think a sneaky good, very good prepaid offering that offers a lot of bells and whistles for pretty much free on prepaid carriers. And it offers a lot of bang for your buck. So let's get into the discussion and the comparison. So obviously both of these are 5G, so that's a good starting point. S22 is more compact device, more lightweight device than the N200 5G. Build quality, S22 is better. It's mostly glass and aluminum. N200 is a plastic device overall. The S22 has an eSIM built in, which is very handy. The N200 does not have that. S22 is IP68 dust and water resistant, so you can dunk it in water for a few minutes. The N200 doesn't have that either. Now for the display, the S22 has 120 Hz refresh rates, which is very high, very smooth and fresh. The N200, although it's a budget device, doesn't have 60 Hz, it has 90 Hz, so it's right below the 120 Hz display. So both of these have a great refresh rate, at least in the 90 Hz. Size-wise, the S22 is 6.1 inches, more compact than the 6.5-inch display in the N200, but if you like bigger displays, the N200 has you faded. Resolution is actually pretty good on both of these devices. Both are at 1080p. PPI is 425 on the S22. The OnePlus is 405. You also get always on display in the S22. So screen-wise, both of these are actually very comparable. For the software, these differ a lot. You got Android 12 on the S22, Android 11 on the N200, but the differences in there, because the S22 has Samsung UI on top, while the N200 is more of a stock version of Android with Oxygen OS. Now, another difference is that the S22 will get several years of updates. The N200 will be pretty much stuck on Android 11, and you won't see a lot of updates. So it's really up to you if you want Samsung UI versus stock Android UI. And it won't really matter at the end for day-to-day usage, because this is usually has to do with the settings and certain feels of the device. Now for internal storage, the S22 is better at 128 gigs, while the N200 has 64 gigs of internal storage, but it has that micro SD card slot, so you can expand it cheaply. Another big difference is the amount of RAM. The S22 has 8 gigs of RAM versus the 4 gigs of RAM on the N200 5G. So the only way that this makes a difference is when you're running a lot of apps in the background. Then I would suggest, obviously, that the S22 will do a better job of that. But if you're an average person, I think 4 gigs of RAM is the bare minimum. Although I do suggest at least some other budget phones that offer 6 gigs of RAM. So that's probably the only downside to this phone that I can really think of right off the bat, is that low amount of RAM. As for the cameras, the S22 has the best in-class camera setup: 50 megapixel main shooter, 10 megapixel telephoto, 12 megapixel ultra wide. The N200 has 3 cameras: 13 megapixel main shooter, 2 megapixel macro, 2 megapixel depth. Now, the overall better camera is going to be the S22 5G in the daytime and at nighttime. The N200 has pretty much a basic camera setup. Even though it has 3 cameras on the back, you're pretty much only going to be using the main camera. It doesn't have any ultra wide, so that's the thing that sticks out to me. And this camera is probably going to suck at night like every other budget camera out there. You could shoot up to 8K on the S22. You can only shoot up to 1080p on the N200. Selfie cameras: 10 megapixel shooter on the S22 at 4K, N200 16 megapixel shooting up to 1080p. No headphone jack on the S22. You do get it on the N200. Big bonus right there. Both of these have obviously they both have Bluetooth, but you get 5.2 on the S22, 5.1 on the N200, but doesn't matter. They will both connect to your devices like your headphones, your watch, and your speakers just fine. And both of these have NFC, and that's pretty much reserved for payments, so that's good right there. You get a fingerprint reader on both of these, but you get under the display in the S22. You have a side-mounted one on the N200. Battery life, big difference here again. 3700 milliamps on the smaller side for the S22 versus the big 5000 milliamp on the N200. So that's one big important factor right there, guys. Big, reliable, long-lasting battery in the N200. We'll see how the S22 uses optimization with software and the chipset, but you cannot replicate big battery. Charging wise, you got fast charging at 25 watts on the S22. You get 18 watt fast charging on the N200. So not too shabby on the Nord battery department, because it already has a big battery. If you need to juice it up, it's a little bit slower than the S22, but it's covered by that big battery. And you also get bonuses for charging gimmicky stuff like wireless charging and reverse wireless charging on the S22. So again, you have a flagship for $800. You have a budget device that's pretty good, offering a lot of features, a lot of bang for your buck for free. You can get a lot of devices of the N200 compared to only one on the Samsung. But I mean, unless the only differences that I could really see between these devices that make a difference for a lot of people is probably gonna be the processor. It's gonna be the amount of RAM and the camera system. Those are like the top three things that are obviously better on the S22, if those are things that you really care about. But everything else, the N200 does a wonderful job. I mean, it has a big screen, it has stock Android, it has a micro SD card slot, it has a headphone jack, it has a reliable rear fingerprint reader, and it has a big battery. So you put all those together and you're getting it for a price of free when you port in your number. It's pretty much the lowest priced OnePlus phone out there. So you put all those together, you get a better bang for your buck. Let me know what you guys think. I mean, obviously I'm leaning towards the N200 5G on this one, and it's just very disappointing that the S22 is not an improvement over the S21 or the S20. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one.